Oh wow, my guitar is just so casually on my bed in the background. Did you know I'm a musician? Oh my god, I'm so fucking annoying. Wow, 2 videos in 1 week. Go me. So despite the fact that I like to think of myself as, and I kind of portray myself as, some like big movie buff, I've come to the realization that there's a lot of movies that I haven't seen, and like I mean like a lot. Whether it be like movies significant in pop culture or cult classics or blockbusters and like critically acclaimed, all of those movies. There's just a lot I haven't seen, and that's probably due to the fact that I watch the same like 20 movies on rotation, and those 20 movies absolutely include like Twilight and several Barbie movies. I decided I wanted to utilize all this at home time and actually watch some of the movies on my list. And I decided originally that I wanted to watch 12 new movies a month, and that would equate to 144 movies a year. But then I kind of decided to change it to 16 movies a month, so 12 new movies and 4 movies that I've already seen, because sometimes I just want to watch Jennifer's Body for like the 19th time. I'm going to talk about the new movies that I watched in a chronological order, and then I'm going to save my repeat movies for the end just in case like you don't care. And I'm absolutely not going to like amazingly summarize these movies because I have no qualifications whatsoever to make this video. I am not a film student. I am not a film critic, duh. I'm not like, I have no qualifications that justify me making this video other than the fact that I like watching movies and I like talking about movies and I like watching people talk about movies. So make the content that you would want to watch, I guess. Also, there will be no spoilers, so you're good on that part. But with all that being said, without further ado, here are all the movies I watched in January.
I watched Soul. It came out on Disney Plus on, I believe, Christmas Day, but I didn't watch it until January. Obviously. There's not much I can say about Soul that hasn't already been said. I mean, it is a Pixar movie, and if there's one thing that Pixar does right, it's emotional animated films. I will say that as someone who is quite cynical and pessimistic about life, this movie kind of reminded me to just remember that simply living life is beautiful enough. Gags. Next on the list, I have a movie that has a surprisingly similar sentiment, but it's presented in a much more interesting way. Spontaneous is a 2020 film based on a 2016 novel about a specific class of high school students that spontaneously combust, but not in like a bonfire smoke kind of way, in like a if you fill the balloon with red paint and popped it with a needle kind of way. Yes, this movie is very bloody. It follows a girl named Mara, played by Katherine Langford, and how she deals with finishing up high school, getting into a relationship, having friendship struggles, you know, typical high school coming of age things. But also her classmates are literally exploding, so like as if high school couldn't get any worse. But yeah, I don't know, I actually really liked this movie and I was weirdly inspired by it. Like I said, it has a similar sentiment to Soul, but instead of it being all, the world is beautiful, life is beautiful, whatever, it's more like, well, we're all gonna die anyway, so fuck everything and live your life how you want to. Yeah, that was a pretty good way to start my year. It was on sale when I went to watch it on YouTube, but even if it's not on sale, I still recommend it, especially if you're feeling particularly angsty. I have 2 words as the reason as to why I watched this movie. Dove Cameron. Yeah, so if you didn't know, I love Dove Cameron like so much. I love her music, I love Liv and Maddie, I love Descendants. So when I saw that this movie was on Netflix, it was only right that I watched it, and I mean, I watched it. Basically, Samuel L. Jackson runs a top secret school that trains young orphan girls to be assassins. Haley Steinfeld is the top assassin, but she doesn't want to I don't know if that's a word, assass anymore, so she runs away and applies to be an exchange student so she can go to high school for the first time. She stays at Dove Cameron's character's house, I don't remember her name, and as you can imagine, things go awry. So yeah, I mean, it was entertaining, I guess, but I don't think I'll be watching it again. Also, Sophie Turner, aka Joe Jonas's wife, is in this, and I did not realize she was so young. Like, she's the same age as Haley and Dove. Like, I don't know, for some reason I thought she was I don't know, threw me for a loop. I don't know what possessed me to watch this movie. I think I was going through Emily Browning's film credits and saw this title and thought, yeah, it's on Netflix, why not? This was made in 2011 and it is absolutely a product of its time. It totally has that Alice in Wonderland, but it's edgy vibe. I mean, the immense CGI, the fantasy elements, the attempting to push a quote-unquote feminist narrative because they're all, yeah, the girls are wearing sexy outfits, but they have swords, so progression. The plot is like a fantasy within a fantasy, which kind of confused me for a second. Main character Emily Browning is being checked into a mental hospital, but then I guess in order to help herself cope with the stress of being checked into a mental hospital, she imagines it as a brothel, and instead of becoming a patient, she's becoming a new worker. So, I mean, I guess whatever helps you cope. There are these dreamlike sequences that go on while still immersed in the second reality. Within her third reality, she meets up with this like spirit guide, I guess, who tells her that she needs to devise a plan in order to escape, and she enlists the help of other patients in the mental hospital / brothel. I mean, when Vanessa Hudgens is here too, she's still trying to shake off her High School Musical image. Oh, and so is the girl from Princess Protection Program. Oh my god, what the heck. So, I mean, I could have gone with the whole, like, I being a stereotypical Asian martial arts master thing, but like I said, this is a product of its time. 2011, y'all. 2011. I am so embarrassed to say that I hadn't seen 10 Things I Hate About You until this year. I mean, I love 90s movies, I love Heath Ledger, I love coming-of-age films, and I do quite like Shakespeare. I know it's like super pretentious of me, but what can you say? I wear wireframe glasses. What do you expect? Yeah, but once I saw this was on Disney Plus, I was like, okay, it's kind of random, but now I kind of have no excuses to not watch this movie, so I'm not gonna explain the plot, because, I mean, you probably already know it, plus it's Shakespeare, so... Anyway, I'm so glad I finally watched it, because it pretty much just reaffirmed that I do indeed love 90s movies and Heath Ledger and coming-of-age films. I seriously don't know why I had gone my entire life without seeing Sleepy Hollow. I mean, you would think that an angsty little child like me would just adore the gothiness of it all. I actually meant to watch this around Halloween time, but I just didn't get around to it, so... But anyway, again, I'm not going to explain the plot because it is based on the novel The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, but the movie has all the classic Tim Burton elements, including Johnny Depp himself. Even though I was correct in my prediction of my overall enjoyment of this movie, I will say that it couldn't help but feel mildly grossed out that Christina Ricci was 19 and Johnny Depp was like 35, and they were playing love interests. Someone hold my hair back while I vomit, please. After my enjoyment of 10 Things, I decided to watch another 90s movie that's on Disney Plus for some reason. Drew Barrymore is a young journalist instructed to go back to high school undercover as a student so she can write a story, and as you can imagine, things get pretty wacky. I mean, we find out that girls are still mean, boys are still jerks, and teachers are still creeps. Yup, there's a pedophilic undertone, and the movie mildly addresses this and tries to play it off as, well, we, the audience, know she's not a minor, so it's fine. Yeah, but the teacher certainly doesn't know she's an undercover adult, so, like, why are we framing this as fine? As much as I love Drew Barrymore, I just really did not enjoy this movie. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it was Drew's characterization, or that it was kind of just a less funny version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I watched it, but I don't know if I'll watch it again. I feel like I'm literally the last person on the planet to see I, Tonya, but oh well. Margot Robbie is an extremely talented actor. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. The way the movie cuts between the past events and the present interviews are really effective at making you feel immersed in the characters' lives. It's really risky, wiggy, this isn't okay, sorry, to make a movie about someone who's still alive. And even though I have no real scale to gauge it on, I think they did a good job and pulled it off. There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said better, but I guess if you somehow haven't watched this yet, do it. My gosh, my mouth is getting so dry, what the heck. If there's any time worse than high school, it's middle school, and that's exactly what Todd Solondz's Welcome to the Dollhouse portrays so accurately. Dawn Wiener is just the epitome of an awkward phase, and that is all too familiar because if you weren't her, you knew someone just like her. Despite the fact that this movie touches on some incredibly heavy topics like rape and kidnapping, homophobia, and grooming, I still managed to walk away from this movie feeling kind of happy. I mean, it managed to capture all the mundane, frustrating, and difficult tribulations of preteen life in a way that was not romanticized at all. Yet I walked away feeling happy. I couldn't understand why, but just as I was writing this, I'm realizing that it's because it's reminding me that while I feel so awful for Dawn and middle school was indeed shit, I made it out alive, which, like, woohoo, I guess. If you know me, then you know that I am the biggest scaredy cat that has ever existed ever. I mean, the Halloween episode of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody still freaks me out. But after hearing about Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue, I was just so compelled to watch it, I couldn't not watch it. It follows ex-pop idol turned actor Mima as she struggles to assert herself in the acting world. While doing so, she slowly loses touch with reality due to a stalker and her growing paranoia involving an internet forum about her that includes every detail of her onstage and offstage life, created by someone who is claiming to be the quote-unquote real Mima. Mima is eventually unable to tell her TV show scenes apart from her real life. It makes her question what's real and what's fiction, and the way that the movie shows this makes the audience question the same thing. The reason why I love this movie so much is because while yes, it is an anime, and an anime from the 90s no less, it feels so real and timeless. Like, if this were a live action movie, I can guarantee that like some of the camera angles and the effects and the cutscenes would feel like cheesy or out of place, but something about this animated aspect just makes it work. This movie was made right as the internet was becoming a more common thing, and while we all know what the internet is, obviously, the topics that it covers regarding the internet are still extremely applicable today. Some moments feel almost voyeuristic because we're shown the stark juxtaposition of Mima as a pop idol slash actor slash public figure versus Mima as a person, going to the store, feeding her pet fish, calling her mom. It addresses the problem of idolizing celebrities and how the public's perception of you can change your own perception of yourself, and how you never really know how someone is feeling based on what they're showing you and what they're putting out online. If you decide to watch this movie, I am going to warn you that there is a fair amount of violence, including a very graphic quote-unquote rape scene. I say rape scene because Mima's character in the show she's filming for does get sexually assaulted, and even though it's not real in the movie and it's an anime, I can confidently say that if it were a live action, I would not have been able to get through it. Despite all that, I will definitely be watching this again at some point. Like, the third act, in my opinion, in my irrelevant opinion, is one of the best third acts in cinema. Just this entire movie deserves all the praise and the hype it gets because holy shit, it was so good, and I added it to my list of all-time favorite movies literally as soon as I was finished watching it. Wow, I wonder if you can tell just how much of an impact Perfect Blue had on me. My notes on it are literally as long as all my previous notes combined. I really feel like Elliot Page's best characters are when they're playing someone whose every second word is dude or man. I'm probably biased because I grew up watching Juno, but anyway. He plays the titular Tallulah, a young van traveler that makes a split decision to take a neglectful mother's baby, not out of malice, but out of compassion for the baby. It's honestly really anxiety-inducing because while there are plenty of quirky, sweet, and sad moments, there's a constant feeling of, oh my god, what is going to happen to this baby and to Tallulah/Lou. The entire time you're rooting for Lou, but then you have to remind yourself that she's technically in the wrong because she kidnapped a baby. But then with the context of the mother, the lines between morals get blurred. Also, I'm so sorry, but like the entire time when I was watching this movie, I just couldn't help but keep thinking about Tallulah knows that she's not the only one. Okay. Allison Janney plays the mother of Lou's ex-boyfriend who Lou goes to for help when he's left her. I don't really have anything to say about Janney or her performance. The only reason why I'm mentioning her is because she kind of looks like my mom, so yeah, that was fun, I guess. As I'm editing this, I'm also realizing that this is the third movie this month that I've watched that had Allison Janney in it, and now I'm wondering if this is a coincidence or if she's just always in a lot of movies that I watch and I haven't really noticed until now, because like in the other movies she didn't really look like my mom, but I think it's just with like the haircut and the hair color okay, yeah, nobody cares anyway. Overall, I liked this movie. It feels very quote-unquote premiered at a film festival-y, and that's because like it did premiere at a film festival. I don't know, I'm not a film critic and I have no qualifications whatsoever. I'm just talking out of nothing here. Why did I decide to make this video again? As someone who grew up watching Spirited Away religiously, I couldn't tell you why I didn't immediately watch The Wind Rises when it came out, but a couple years ago I was given a bunch of my favorite Ghibli movies on DVD, and this was one of them, so I finally watched it. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli? I literally still do not know. Anyway, set in 1920s/30s Japan, a fictional story about the real-life airplane engineer Jiro Horikoshi and his journey to creating the real-life fighter planes used in World War II. Yeah, I didn't know that this was a war/romance movie, but the movie actually had very little to do with the war itself. It more so follows Jiro himself as he travels around Japan and Germany in order to learn more about the best engineering technology and such. Then it later turns into a romance / romantic tragedy because a girl who we were briefly introduced to in the beginning of the movie becomes Judo's love interest. And I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a Miyazaki movie, so you'll probably be able to fill in the gaps. It's no secret that Hayao Miyazaki is an incredibly talented writer and director. The stories he writes, the worlds he imagines, the characters he creates, they all feel so real. I once heard someone say that the reason why his characters work so well is because he doesn't actually write characters, he writes people. Even in a highly stylized animated world, all of these characters are able to convey experiences and emotions so realistically that it's impossible to not feel something when watching. I'm not going to say that this is my favorite film Hayao Miyazaki ever made, but it's yet another piece of proof that everything he creates is damn near perfection. Now onto the movies I rewatched. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with all of them, but here you go. I've read the book and watched the movie for perks many times, but it had been a while since I've seen it. I watched this on January 1st, and while, like I said, I've seen this before, it kind of felt like I was watching it for the first time, especially after the year I've had. I always kind of self-inserted myself as Sam, but this was the first time where I literally couldn't see myself in anyone but Charlie, and that was honestly kind of jarring for me. It was honestly kind of surprising just how many ways my life has begun to mirror his in terms of his feelings and his struggles and his relationships with different people. His breakdown in the third act hit way too close to home, and his reasonings for it hit even closer. His relationships with Sam and Patrick both warmed and broke my heart multiple times. It really made me remember just why and how much I love this story. I don't know if it was because I watched it literally on January 1st, so I was feeling extra emotional, whatever, self-reflection and such, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it was a good way to start my year. It also finally converted me into a Bowie fan. The entire Hilary Duff monologue, then into the football field, kissing in the rain with Jimmy Eat World playing in the background scene, lives in my head rent-free. It was my birthday. I wanted to watch a soft, warm, comforting, nostalgic movie. Sue me. This movie changed my little 7th grader life, and yeah, I stand by it. I mean, I actually haven't seen this movie in a few years, so I kind of forgot all the little details and just how freaking twee it really is. Since my last previous viewing of this movie, I've gained more knowledge in terms of what it takes to make a good period piece, like the costuming and the props and the even color palette and stuff, and I was able to appreciate this movie a whole lot more on an entirely new level. Don't get me wrong, I totally always found the director's style very aesthetically pleasing, but I never really understood why. But now that I've acquired more knowledge, I can kind of articulate why, which I'm not going to do right now because nobody gives a shit. Anyway, I like this movie. I don't have it on DVD for no reason. In my books, this is a classic. This is absolutely on the list of all-time favorite movies of all time. I don't know, you either love Wes Anderson movies or you hate them, and based on my previous statement that I wear wire-frame glasses, you can probably tell how I feel about his movies. Sorry if my pretentiousness makes you gag. It makes me gag too.
Also, these don't really count as like movies, but I did see a live stream of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, the ballet performed by the Royal Opera House. And I also saw a stream of Lazarus the Musical, which was very conveniently timed for my recently converted Bowie fan-ness. So that was fun. But yeah, anyway, that was the video. I'm not too sure if I'll make one of these again, only because I don't really know that anyone's gonna care. But if you did enjoy this video for some reason, then let me know, and then I might make another one in the future. I'm being so serious, like even if just only one person tells me that they liked this video, I will make another one like this for another month because I really like talking about movies and I'll take any excuse to talk about movies. So that's it. That's the end of the video. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. When will I not be awkward? That would be so nice.